Hey everyone, welcome to our portrait to design. All right, so for this one, I wasn't quite sure what I was going to like. I didn't have an idea. I didn't have like a reference photo. At this moment, I'm kind of just thinking, all right, what is the next cinematic portrait going to be? So I was looking at color palettes. I was thinking, this is an interesting idea. I love this color palette. Maybe I will use this. And I saved this color palette because I didn't want to, first of all, didn't want to forget it. But second of all, I saved it in case I wanted to swatch it out later. And I was also kind of looking for ideas. Like, I'm really inspired by movies, and I'm not sure if you watched the intro video, but I worked in film, went to film school, and I have film and art as my two like huge passions in life, and education, obviously. So I get really inspired by movies, and this movie poster in particular. What these two movies, The Aviator and Almost Famous, were two movies that were really inspiring to me when they came out, and I thought the movie posters were really good. And then I began to see that the movie posters are, with the glasses, are replicated over and over again. Like Fear and Loathing, I think, has it. Um, there's more, but at this very moment in time, I went to Pexels, so I knew I wanted to tell a story, create a painting where there was a big portrait, sunglasses, and a story within the frames. And I was like, what kind of thing could I do? So I thought maybe aviator, and I was looking at these like sky, maybe like mountain, and then I thought it'd be kind of cool if it was a band, but what would a modern band be? Kind of like Almost Famous, but now. So I was like, okay, DJ, that would be fun because you could do neon lights. You could have the idea of like the DJ, like you're at a concert or something similar to Almost Famous, but like a modern version. So I'm actually quite literally swatching out the Almost Famous movie poster because I love the colors, and I'm swatching this out as well. Whether you think this is cheating or not, this is something that graphic designers do all the time. It is a formula that works, and that's why you see so many things where they're kind of replicating a certain style, is because that movie poster really worked. It drew the people in. And so what I'm doing is actually using it as inspiration, but I'm also kind of looking at their swatch and seeing if I can use their swatch quite literally. And so what we're going to do at this moment, is kind of place the image that we've come up with, which is this DJ, and I'm copying it into like little squares and making sure it fits right around the glasses. And I found my reference photo of this girl wearing glasses. Definitely looks like it would be like in an Ibiza movie. This is kind of weird. Every time you detach your photo from the background in Canva, it makes it smaller again. It can be really frustrating. A workaround is kind of to crop your image a little bit so it doesn't move out of place, and then at the very end, you can make it bigger. It is not perfect. I hope it's something that they fix. Okay, so the only thing that I'm removing now, I removed her background from the background remover tool, but you don't really see the background in the scaled version. All I want to do is get rid of the glasses because I want to put the image of this DJ behind it, and it's starting to work. And I have to move these two images to the background. Now at this moment in time, all I'm doing is playing with the saturation, and I know that this is not how they end up for the glasses. I think I do end up doing a more violet color. All right, now this is something that is a little bit strange, and I had to zoom in so you can see it better. But I'm creating different layers. One layer is a black and white layer because I wanted really high values, or I wanted to maybe play with adding a color on top of it, which is like what I did. And then when you take the layers and you make them transparent and you lay them on top of each other, it's going to change the original image. It will make it either softer, or maybe you make the contrast more vibrant, or you change the color. Like I'm changing the color on one side of the piece than the other. because if you can see in the Almost Famous one, which is a really great idea, is you have a color on one side, but the other side feels like it's being lit up by either like some kind of stage light, or like you feel like you're in an environment where something is happening that's exciting. And if you're in a concert or if you're watching a DJ, like if you've ever been to a concert, it's chaos. There's lights everywhere, there's people bumping into you, spilling their stuff all on your shoulder. There's You're looking at the lights that are coming from the stage coming on you, and it's just all over. So how do we replicate that? We're going to bring those lights directly in, and you blur them out. You just kind of place them in different parts. Now, because she's wearing sunglasses create a glare, and so I had to kind of fake that, and I'm taking these blurs and putting them in the glasses so it looks as though she's starting to be in this environment, like a Coachella, Ibiza type environment where action is happening. But I still didn't think it was colorful enough. So at this moment in time, I'm really just starting to lay in color, and I'm doing it in these very transparent glows. And I found the glows in Elements, and then they have a section called Graphics, and that's where I started to add them in. And I mentioned this in the last portrait design, but when you use vignettes, and vignette is kind of like when you can either lighten the outside or darken the outside of your piece. Vignettes really help bring the attention to your subject if it's centered. And at the moment, she is completely centered. This would be a perfect piece to kind of create a vignette, create some darkness around her so that the attention is drawn really right into the glasses. I mean, at first, you're looking at the person, right? But then the second thing that you're looking at is what's happening in the reflection. It's a really fun, like, this whole thing is very much like magic. You're composing a trick for your audience when you're creating a piece of artwork. You really have to think about where the eye is going to go. So you have to think about composition. You really have to think about what colors will draw people to where you want them to look or where you don't want them to look. A great tool to use when you're painting and you make a mistake and you need to cover something up. Blur it out, darken it, figure out a way to draw their attention to somewhere else. I'm adding these little like little star light flares into the glasses as well. I'm adding things in there that are not in the original image because I'm just trying to get into the mind, or trying to get into this lady's shoes. Like, what would it feel like to be there? And when I did work in film, I worked in art department, so we were designing sets, and part of being an art department is really thinking about the character. After you read the script, you have to think about what would the room look like, what would the environment look like for that character. And we have to do the same thing when creating a piece. And okay, let's move on to how we would prep this for a painting. I will see you there.